asking you some questions. How many of you have a car on campus? Okay, next question. Have you ever parked at in those lots that have those machines that you have to get a ticket and bring back to your car? Yeah? All right, well, those things have a name. They're called a kiosk, and that's what we did our Practicum presentation on.
Okay, so we worked with the City of Bowling Green. Specifically, we worked under Lori Treader, who was the assistant to the municipal administrator, John Farset, and we also worked with the parking technician. All of them we met with them at the beginning of the semester, and they all laid out, what they wanted us to do. And then me and Allie took that information that they gave us from the first meeting, and we just worked on it independently throughout the semester. And we also went to parking services here on campus because BG is making the transition to kiosk machines as well. Our main contact is Lori. Since she was the assistant, she did a lot of the clerical work, and she was who we emailed if we had any questions. We didn't have any actual readings required. They kind of gave us some objectives to start with, and we went on that.
Okay, so Bowling Green State University is obviously already making this transformation because we've seen the kiosks on campus. So the City of Bowling Green also wants to start making that transformation. So formally, the definition of a kiosk is a machine that allows all parking fees to be paid at one centralized location. And pretty much the city just wanted us to weigh both the cost benefits and just the overall public benefits of both and decide whether or not it would be worth the change.
So our main objectives for the project, we want to look at advantages and disadvantages of the conversion or staying with the meters that are already in place. We wanted to look at what the overall cost to make the conversion was, because we knew there'd be a certain cost at first. We also wanted to look at the impact on the public, how they would respond to it, if it would be beneficial to Bowling Green citizens or not. And then long-term profits and loss, because although there'd be an initial cost, there was still going to be obviously cost along the way, and we wanted to see if those would outweigh the long-term profit.
Okay, so for the public, for you guys, the pros and cons of making the transformation to the kiosk. The first pro of one is it takes a bunch of different payments. So in a meter, it obviously only takes coins, but here you can use your card or cash. They look better. That was one of the city's big things about the kiosk. The old meters just don't look as nice. It keeps up with technology. Obviously, our world is transforming into a more technological place, so it keeps up with that. Another big pro for me, I didn't know that this could happen, but from your phone, if you have the app, you can add more time from your phone. You don't have to go out and put quarters back on the meter. You can just use your phone and add more time. And lastly, for the parking technicians that have to collect the money, they can just check it in one spot and not have to go to a bunch of different meters. And then the cons of the kiosk. I know when I use them, I get annoyed because you have to walk all the way to the thing, walk all the way back to your car, and then go to your destination. So that's really not good for especially old people that are handicapped people that can't do that. And then also for older people, it's not very good because they're not very good with technology usually. Like I can't picture my grandma going up to a kiosk and knowing what to do, because I know when I first used one, I was like, didn't know what to do. So those are the cons of the kiosk. And overall, there are more pros for the public than cons, but the cost is a big thing.
So then we looked at the cost advantages and disadvantages, because those were completely different than the public. Some of the cost advantages included that parking services, their collection time could be reduced. The website that the kiosk was advertised on said it can reduce it by 50%. So that means basically officials, parking officials don't have to spend as much time writing tickets because they don't have to check every single meter. They can go to this one centralized location, and that saves a lot of time and money. You can also change the price of the parking kiosk. So if there's a special event going on in town that weekend, you can upgrade the cost a little bit. So the city will make a little bit more money that weekend if they know there's going to be a lot of traffic. And also the software can tell you when the most popular times of parking is. So if you know that most people park between these hours of the day, that's when you can enforce parking, and as to where now it's just a set time. So you can change that, and that can fluctuate because the software gives you those statistics. But some of the disadvantages were it's $20 grand per kiosk, which is really expensive, and it's $2,750 for a cover. And in a place such as Bowling Green, we obviously have a lot of unpredictable weather, like it's snowing right now. So we would definitely benefit from getting those covers because it protects the kiosk, and you really need that in an environment like this where you do have that snow and rain and things like that. And a parking meter is only $200 per meter. So it's a lot cheaper just to keep the parking meters, or even just to keep implementing the parking meters rather than buying these kiosks. Also, the kiosks have a couple other fees. You have to replace the paper, and then that prints out the ticket. And there's also monthly fees for software updates, because it's constantly getting new updates, but that's about $50 a month in order to keep up with these. And also there'd be a fee to remove all the meters that are already in place in the parking lots. We couldn't find an exact number for that fee, but we know it's not going to be cheap to remove every single parking meter that's already in these parking lots. So overall for the cost, it's definitely an advantage to just stick with the parking meters rather than to go into kiosk machines.
Okay, so next. We were given a bunch of maps of parking lots all over the city of Bowling Green, and she's going to hand them out and you can see. And we had to estimate if they were to use kiosks in those lots, how many they would need and how much that would cost. So for all these different lots, we found out how many meters were in each lot, and from that and the makeup of just how the lots were set up, we figured out how many kiosks they would need for each lot. And so those are the numbers that we came up with. Like Jessica said, another important number that we couldn't find would be how much it would be to take all the meters out, because that's another expensive task. But this is an estimate about how many meters you would need and how much that would cost. So now it's your turn. If you were given a map of this lot, and suppose it has 100 parking meters in it, how many kiosks would you use, and how much do you think it would be?
So if you want to meet with, go with people on your row, you can compare the lots that you were passed out and look at this lot, and just figure out how many kiosks you think you would implement in a lot, such as this one. If you would put one and wherever you can put it. Think about how much that would cost when you're thinking about the number of kiosks you would actually put in. That's definitely going to play a huge factor. You wouldn't put 5 in this lot because that's just ridiculous. So that's something that's basically what we had to do throughout this. We had to analyze the parking lot and see if they should be put in and how many. So what we got out of this was basically, it's a really nice example for classroom use, but it's more ideal for middle schoolers. A lot of the math we did was very basic and elementary, so it's not something that you might do in high school, a lot of low level, maybe 4th or 5th grade. But it is really nice because, you have this real life example, and so when students ask you, when am I ever going to need to know this, this is a really great example you can show them. And doing activities like this, where they kind of have to guess, how many parking meters am I going to put in this, and then what's the cost, it really gets them to work hands-on and makes it a little bit more fun than just doing actual work. It also opened up our eyes to a lot more application of math and science and fields that we would expect. For example, I would never think that the city or the police department would ever
The city should make a transformation to the kiosk. If it's a new parking lot, because then you won't have to pay that cost to get rid of the meters. For bigger cities, it would be beneficial. For younger generation towns, because like I said earlier, it's hard for those older people to get it, to understand them and to get to it. And lastly, for certain designs and setups of parking lots, if it's really spread out, it's going to be hard to go all the way to a kiosk and back to your car and then to your destination. So that's what we came up with.
And for real quick, for Bowling Green, Ohio, we just basically recommended to our advisor that we work with that Bowling Green doesn't make the transformation unless they build new parking lots and they have a setup that would be ideal for the kiosk machines. For some of the examples that got passed around, the ones marked Lot M and Lot 6, those are the two that we could definitely see for the kiosks themselves.